Christ's nature. And you can't cultivate it unless we go inside and have some type of relationship with it. That's why I always love doing that meditation and visualization of the inner chamber of the Most High. Because that's the instructions we got. Go to your inner chamber of the Most High and pray. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I just do way too much. And I don't know how. Okay, what do I need to do next? How can I make this happen? Maybe it's just for me to sit down and shut up. And just go within and I'll let the energy come through. Let God come through me. Let God speak through me. You know? Let God do the details out here. And I think a large part of all of our problems is we want to do all the details when it's not our job to do the details. So, God, show me what it is that I need to do, and then you take care of the rest of the details. But,
allow yourself to do that. You can say that, but if you do not let go, the solution to this problem or your need for this, if you do not truly let go and turn it over and allow it, it's not going to happen. And it just creates your frustration. You get stuck there. It is long. Put on the word. What we need to do is stillness, breathe.
let go.
And let go. Let go to me is like a lot. And that's the practice. That's the practice. That's the practice. That's the practice. It gets you out of your mind and it gets you into the Christ-centered soul. God, whatever, calm it all down. That dissolves your emotional, your physical disease. Start to take it out of the way so you can.
And I also think that sometimes we think we know the law. We don't. We think we know it. We can intellectually talk about it. We can tell other people how to, we can all become Pharisees, tell other people how to live it. But the more we live it, the deeper of an understanding we get of it, and how it shows us different avenues of different levels of consciousness through it. You know, we can all say, well, you know, what's the law of attraction? We can all go X, Y, Z, blah, 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 right? But once you really start working it and fine-tuning it more into your life, it takes you to another level. You'll see a different avenue of it because it's raised you up.
Hey, one of the things that I also had another hang about, I had many hang-ups, but thinking that letting it go means doing nothing. And I still go back and forth with that. I think I have a clearer understanding of that now, but does letting it go means, you know, from this point forward, I do nothing towards it. Like, I want a new car, but I don't even go to the dealership to see what, you know, to get a car. I mean, does that mean a car is going to be pulled up to my driveway and so I think there's a lot of misunderstanding or confusion surrounding about what letting it go really means.
It means about the end result. You still do your stuff, but it's about, well, you had this big idea that you wanted this big fat red car. And you really want this big fat red car. But this great deal comes along and you get this big fat silver too, but the detail was
So there's-
red or silver.
Okay.
God worked out the silver.
Right.
I can tell you a story actually about a car. My son was in his early 20s and he was selling Saturns at the Saturn dealership. And he gave me a demonstration and my car was probably like 7 or 8 years old, had a lot of miles on it. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's a really nice car and I would love to get a new car, but I just, I don't know how much I can sell my car for. They weren't going to give me hardly anything for my car. So several days later, I took it to this car wash that I always go to, but nobody ever talks to me at the car wash. It's not like we were friendly or anything. And so the guy who owns the car wash, he goes, were you ever thinking about selling your car? Because I've always looked at this car and thought it'd be a great car for my wife. And so I said, well, yeah, actually, I was thinking about maybe. And I told him everything that was wrong with my car. He said, yeah, I can fix it. I'll buy it.
So that's letting the universe take care of the details.
But you have the
What kind of car do you have now?
No.
Is it a Saturn?
Yeah,
This was years ago. This was 20 years ago.
that's what letting go is.
I think, well, I just know that it can be very confusing about what
Go
part is yours to do and what part is the universe to do. I mean, so, something I was thinking.
Well, there is, I think, again, it's about surrendering what it's supposed to look like. Is letting the universe design it. How it's supposed to get to us is another detail that we need to surrender. I feel, the color, the shape, the size, the country, wherever avenue it's supposed to come through, that we allow it to do that.
Talking about the law of attraction, one of the things that Abraham Hicks talks about is when you get in alignment with Source, then you take inspired action. So when you're in the Christ consciousness, which is another way of saying it, and be in alignment with Source, it's all the same stuff. Because Christ, that Christ consciousness aspect of Jeshua was him being in alignment.
That's right.
And that's why there's so many things we're able to manifest. And so when you're in that place where let's say you just did a meditation and during the meditation you get this brilliant idea to go for a drive down, out in the country or go get your car washed or whatever. Because recently, after that class I did, I was on my way to Evanston to meet a friend for lunch. And I looked and saw a car dealership and I said, oh, I should stop in there on the way back. And I did, and I left with a car.
There you go.
It was just,
I think
that's part of the
when we don't want to
surrender.
let go, it's because we want to control it.
Yeah, and I really
control
did.
the outcome. And the outcome is not for us to really control. So a large part of me says, okay, God, if there's something I need to do to make this happen, just let me do it naturally without questioning it, doubting it, dissecting it, and all that good stuff. Just let it.
And the key word Sharon said earlier, ease.
Ease.
I didn't have to go out of my way. She didn't go out of her way. I mean, it flowed with the process. So it's not that surrendering and allowing doesn't mean you do nothing because we're physical beings. Part of being physical is to be here to do physical things.
And to let go doesn't mean that you let go of your vision. You just keep holding the vision, this or something better. And maybe that's the only thing that we really need to do in the end is to just hold the desire that, I desire to be of service. And if it's this or something better, great, I'm open, God, show me the way. Again, I think it's all about the receptivity that we have to spirit.
And the willingness to be led by it.
And let it
Unlike,
unfold.
you honored your thought to stop in.
Yeah.
Somebody could else would have said, I don't have no money, I don't have this, I don't have that, and blah, 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 so why even go? You know,
Right.
making excuses.
Yes.
Is there a divine plan for us, or is God just working on our desires?
Well, see, can you get me my little scripto pen there? I've been wanting to get up and get it, but I didn't want to walk away from the camera then. And, cross everybody's field of energy here. This is just my opinion, okay? Thank you. God created us in God's own image and likeness because God had a desire to express more love. So our whole purpose, I believe, here on earth is to express more love. Because love is the creative energy field that holds the divine intelligence to create. Make sense? All right. So, Heather, you might wake up with a passion for gardening, landscaping, designing. This really brings joy to you. That's your ministry. That's your calling to express more love here on earth. Does that make sense? So now you're really living your purpose, because I believe we live our purpose when we live from joy and love with the things that bring us joy and love in our lives, and we have no track of time. Because spirit has no track of time. Spirit is only in the spirit of creating more love. Jerry might wake up and say, wow, I want to be an architect. I want to design temples where people can go. And he gets so involved in designing his temples that he has no track of time again. But yet it brings him great love and joy, whether he's selling the architectural design or if he sold it as a print. Do you understand what I'm saying? He's still doing his joy. Now, I find this hard to believe, but there are some women who love to clean house. It brings them a lot of joy, and I think we should support them all in their business. For their, yes. They're just the cleaners of life. They really, they're more than cleaning your house. They're really disposing of the negative energy that has landed in your house.
They're creating beauty.
They're creating new energy.
I like to say uncovering.
Uncovering.
There's people who like to organize.
And there's, order. And God is another dimension. God is part of divine order. I love to teach. I love to talk. If you saw me 25 years ago, you would never have guessed that. It was cultivated when I finally let it go. I said, okay, God, you want me to be in this? All right, we'll go. We'll do it. Boom, boom, boom. I can't think of anything else I want to do, because this is what brings me love and joy. And I don't know if I've ever shared this story, that on the longest time, I was on the pursuit of what does it mean to be in love? What does it mean to be in love? What does being in love feel like? How do you know you're in love?
In general, or with the
Just whatever you want to say.
mate, or what?
Yeah, for you, just what is it?
Because there's different kinds of love. I don't know. I feel like I'm in love with my children completely. But, my spouse, I don't know. I mean, that's a different,
That's fine.
that's a different kind of story.
See, and that, now I don't have children, but I help raise a little girl. And some of you know, I saw her take her first breath because her mom was a single mom by choice. She comes from a donor's bank. And for many years, even, I don't know, I think maybe she was like 5 or 6 years old, it finally dawned on me what it was to be in love. And I was looking at her. That no matter how angry I can get with her, when I still stop and think about her, I feel love and joy run through my veins. Now, I don't know if I shared this here, but did you know that when a dog greets you, you know how crazy they get? Do you know what chemically is happening to them? I read this on the internet. That the same energy we feel when we fall in love happens in that moment in time. That they are so in love in that moment in time when you come back into that house. It's that chemistry of being in love. Isn't that profound?
I always say you haven't experienced love until you've had a dog. I mean, I don't.
That's
if,
true.
If you haven't had a dog and you walk in that door, I mean, my kids used to get, they get, Mommy, nothing is ever compared to my dogs when I would come in that door. I just haven't had it.
Roxy, when she comes to my house, Roxy was not a person who was like dog friendly, you know. I mean, she was like, you know, oh, nice dog. She wasn't really like, you know, oh, dog, you know how I am, okay. Oh my God, let me see this little face, you know, type of thing. This dog loses her mind when she sees Roxy, and Roxy now loses her mind over this dog. She goes, I think I'm really starting to really like dogs. And why? It's because she just really makes you feel loved and adored. That's why, you know, a lot of times in nursing homes, they'll have cats and they'll have dogs and, you know, roaming, because the elderly still remember what it feels like to be loved.
Yeah, I've got a friend who lost his wife, and he walks around with the dog constantly. Just, you know, that dog is like this far away from him constantly. Because he's going through his grief.
Yeah.
Because that dog emits constant love to you.
Right.
You know? And you said, you know, what is love? Well, I've experienced love with females. It's like, believe me, at first, it's like, you know, like the dog.
But the dog 2 years later is still acting like
Exactly.
I see now with a dog that
It's
that
forever.
love stays consistent.
Oh, yeah.
And you
There's no change.
From
No
when it's
change.
a puppy till the day it dies, and you feel that love. I've not been able to do that with any of my mates.
Get more dogs. Get a dog. Have any of you watched the movie? It's a series. It's on Animal Planet. Parolees, pit bulls and parolees. I love that show. This woman has a rescue shelter in New Orleans now, and she rescues pit bulls and dogs, okay? And she also rescues parolees when they get out of jail, and if they, the prison thinks that the parolee would be a good match to get a job with her, she gives everybody a second chance. Not just the dogs, the parolees, her children. She has 2 daughters, and then she adopted twin boys. She gave them a second chance. So it's more than just a series about saving dogs or pit bulls, because this woman has to even go to the person's house before she turned the dog over. Now, that's her love, that's her passion. That's her expressing more love here on planet Earth. I don't know if I answered your question, but do you understand? A lot of people say, oh, I can't do that in life, there's not, I'm not going to make enough money. But whoa, you could end up having something priceless by doing that. I always remember the story about the father who was a lawyer and his son just liked gardening. He liked doing landscaping. And his father was very wealthy when the son told his dad, Dad, I'm not going to become a lawyer. I don't want to be a lawyer. I really love landscaping. Father disowned him. Cut him out of his inheritance until his son became famous as one of the most famous architectural design landscapers. And his father said, who was I to judge? What your love is. If you don't love it, don't do it. Then we just get a whole pile of resentment working. And what's that resentment going to do? Indigestion, heartburn, migraines, maybe cancer, something that's not really healthy for the body. So here's a question. How do you allow yourself to be humble in your life? How do you allow yourself to have humility?
Be grateful.
Gratitude is one, yeah.
I just recognize the source of it all. Where does it all come from?
For me, I put myself in other people's shoes.
I like that.
So I'm not judging.
Don't judge somebody until you've walked a mile in their moccasins. Yeah, you're right. I have become aware of my words more and some of the things that I'm trying, I'm not trying, I am working at changing is when people say something to me, for me not to say I know. Again, I gotta ask myself when I say that, what does it serve? Why can't I just shut up and say, thank you for sharing? Maybe that person sharing that is doing something more for them than I could do. Because they say one of the greatest gifts we can give is the gift of listening.
I had an experience yesterday that I wasn't going to share, but I had an experience yesterday, and this is about quieting the ego, which is one of the biggest lessons. I think 2013 has been knocking on my door. Quiet your ego. Be quiet. But yesterday, my daughter had a gymnastics rehearsal, or they have a show today, so they went in their little costumes yesterday. And I walked in to pick her up from this, and I saw my neighbors there. And I hadn't seen them before, but it's a really big school, so I figured maybe they had kids there that were in a different class or something. But it turns out that the neighbor 2 doors down from me, daughter my age, was having a birthday party. My kids didn't get invited, but all the neighborhood kids got invited. Everybody was there. Now, my daughter was at the rehearsal by herself, so I was out taking care of my son who wasn't feeling well, and so she was popping in and out to the party. And at first I was kind of, I was mad. I mean, it was like, I was like, how did you not invite my kids? And then, I'm telling you, this is when you just feel like, your girl's like, I said to my son, be still. Please be still right now. Why are you really upset here? And then I said, your daughter ended up at the party anyway. Isn't it funny how the universe works, first of all? But when I asked my neighbor, and I said, oh, did we miss our invitation? Did Victoria, RSVP herself? She made some excuse. She was clearly embarrassed. She had no idea that we would be showing up here. But I was really sitting there thinking to myself, when we are getting upset about things, feelings are hurt. I was really disappointed. And I thought this was a neighbor we were close to. After all, we invited them to everything, and they always would come. It's like, why are we really mad? I think it's getting out examining, being able to examine that motive in the moment. And remember who's really speaking here. And I recognized immediately it was my ego talking. And in that moment, I just said, I said silently, I send them light, love, joy, peace, and prosperity. I really wish that for them. Whatever reason they had for not including, that's their own journey. And we left. And I was shocked at how at peace I was with that. And that was like something, that was the first time I had consciously did that, was aware that I was doing that in a situation like that. So it was incredible to see the growth. But like I said, in the end, she went to the party. All was well. I didn't have to buy a present. It was and actually when I started looking for the silver linings of it all, it was no special effort. It all happened anyway, but I just wanted to share that, being in the moment and recognizing who's talking and why it is you're feeling the way you're feeling. I think you can step back and see even a better result than you probably would have imagined for yourself.
Yes, it's true. Very, very true.
Did your daughter know she was?
I don't think she had the recognition of it. Later in the car, she told me, Mommy, everybody was there, even Abby, because the mom said, oh, no, it was just for her kindergarten class, and it clearly wasn't. All the neighborhood kids were there, but I don't think my daughter got it. Right. But she was there. She had cake. She was running in and out between her little shirts, so she got to be there.
Probably had a better time.
She probably did, yeah. So like I said, I had to buy a gift, so it worked out.
So Shalene was able to let go of her.
Let it go. Immediately. In that moment, I saw it.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yes.
It's a good story.
It was a shock to myself at how instantly I recognized, in that second, what I was doing. And I just
Did you go home and do the happy dance?
Actually, that night I did. Because we had another party to go to. My kids had a great day yesterday. But I did. At night, I sat and reflected. I was doing the jig. I was like, that was growth for me. And then to wish them well. And I meant it. I really in my heart meant it that I wish they continue to prosper and do well in their lives and let it go.
So I think our ego prevents us from being humble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because my husband did not have the same reaction.
Surprise, right?
Yeah, he did not have the same reaction. He was upset, and he's still upset about it. But I'm all at peace about it and moved on. So yeah, ego. So when you said how do we become humble, I think you need to nip that.
It's
recognize
about
the ego and
observing yourself in the moment.
yeah.
Observing yourself in the moment. So what do you do for an act of surrender? How do you surrender yourself? Because we all can use new ways.
I just thought of something. Sometimes I just have to think, how does this fit in the bigger scheme of things in life? Am I going to be focused on this 5-10 years from now? Is it going to matter? How important is this? And it makes it a lot easier to be humble and to surrender and to let it go.
Mm-hmm. So sometimes being humble is just keeping your mouth shut.
Me, surrendering, a lot of the times in the past I've been forced to surrender, through illness or whatever, but
You're not doing it yourself.
right. Now I don't want to go there, so I easily
Weren't you the one that says, how do you help somebody awaken?
yes.
Okay, so then, yeah. When they hurt bad enough, then they'll change, yeah.
Right, so I'm I don't want to go through them again, so it's much easier for me to surrender.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's easy to say it with words, but we really got to feel it. You got to feel it for it to make the difference. Even just being quiet. If you're still inside, oh, that son of a bitch, how dare they, blah, blah, blah.
Was it really the guy that would comment?
that's why, when you look at the bigger picture and you say, in another year, 5 years, is this going to make a difference? Is this going to matter? Who cares? Who's going to care? And am I going to still be angry about something? Do I want to be angry about this in 2 years or 5 years or whatever? Is it that important? And usually the answer is no. There's not too many things that happen to us that we say, yeah, I want to remember this. And but sometimes people dig in the stake and say, yes, I'm not forgiving that person. I don't care. And they really want to make a big case out of it.
And they think that they're really hurting the other person, and they're not.
Yeah, that's
we don't forgive because we want ourselves to be, we feel it's a way of protecting ourselves if we really look deeper.
Yeah.
And it's not.
It
We're
really
really
is.
not protecting ourselves. We're doing more damage.
And I think that's what it was for me yesterday in that moment, is that I'm so conscious of the price of harboring resentment. I'm really conscious. I'm not. This situation is not worth my health, my blocking my prosperity, blocking all the fullness of God coming through to me. I mean, I've had that thought in my mind. It's not worth it. Let it go. Let it go.
And sometimes I also have to stop and think, how does God see this? From God's perspective, there's no good and bad like we judge
It just
it.
is.
Right, it just is. And so look for the joy in. I think you found a lot of joy. It's like, I didn't even have to buy a present.
I didn't.
My kid was happy. Tra-la-la.
Yep.
And I like what Joshua says in this book, that like the neighbor or somebody, they're a messenger. What's the messenger for your awakening? For you to step it up? To come from love, to come from compassion and empathy in life. We've all been hurt by life. We've all been hurt by other people. We don't know what that person's story is, why they do the things that they do. But they're still worthy to receive a blessing, to have some compassion and mercy.
I'm just going to bring up the word compassion. I was reading something about, that we need more compassion in the world. And when you have, to me, compassion is, again, seeing it from a different perspective. I had a coworker that people thought, they would make comments that he's strange. And I had gotten to know him pretty well and found out that his only son had been killed by somebody playing with a gun. 2 kids. And I could tell that had made him kind of guarded and sheltered and a bit odd the way he looked at things. And I realized that was what had created that shell that other people would see as odd. And so, new people would come on and they'd say something about him, being odd, and I'd say, well, he lost his son. And I explained it. And that, it was like they would just melt.
Oh yeah, dead silence.
They would melt, and they were more accepting him as he was. And I thought, it's interesting when people hear your backstory, they're much more compassionate and loving and forgiving and appreciative of where you are when they know where you've come from. And I think when you had mentioned, Sharine, about opening yourself up and telling people who you are and hiding, because I could relate to that. I lived that same life. That people tend to be more accepting and compassionate because they understand your backstory. And then I thought, well, do we all have to go around with our backstory on our backs? I think that's what Facebook is in the world. Facebook is everybody's backstory, and I think that's why people love Facebook, because now you get to see all the dark side and that people have been through, because they're putting it out there, and so that's creating more of a community and sense of compassion among people. We have to figure out how to give people that love and that compassion without having to know the backstory. We don't have time to know everybody's backstory.
We shouldn't have to know everybody.
Exactly.
To extend that kind of love and compassion.
And so that's why I take it to just how would God see it, because he knows everybody's backstory and he really doesn't care. So so that's why I take it to that level. It's like, okay, would God care? Would God look at that? Because we forget that God is all, and that means God is us. If God is all and is in everything, then that includes us. And that's the alignment, that's the connection, that's the compassion, that is the Christ consciousness that we all want, is to be God here on earth and feel that love for everything, that connection to everything, that we're all one. And my backstory is still your backstory, and whatever you went through, I'm going through just at a subconscious level. And why can't I just say, and this is what I actually do, because throughout the day I'll encounter issues and I'll see people going through stuff. And I was taught this as a child when I was in kindergarten with my mom. I send you God's love. Because I figure if I'm not at the level where I can send my own love, I know God is in me, I'm going to send that part of me that's God's love.
It reminds me of this lady who was at my first church. She was from Holland. And she'd always say, you know, God love him because right now I can't. When somebody would do something to irritate her. And, you know, and she was a very loving person. In fact, her family was one of the families that would hide the Jews in their walls. You know, and it's, you know, but so when she said, oh God, love him because right now I can't. I would just think it was hysterical, but it was such a great line, you know. Because it's true, it's honest, you know, it's meeting right where you're at. And, you know, we all need to be loved and to feel loved and to be blessed and to give blessings. And it's that ebb and that flow again of life that we need to participate in. You know, we can't not just breathe in without exhaling. It's an in and an out, an in and an out. And people just don't get that, you know, there's the ebb and the flow in life. And we have to, it's about working the balance. You know, when to surrender and say, okay, God, you know, thy will be done and let it be, you know, this or something better, you know. Okay, God, I don't know everything, so what is it I need to change here? Okay, God, you know, give me what it is that I need to deal with these people right now because, you know, they're really irritating me.
Right, I mean, to me, like, I find it hard to be compassionate to people who don't want to change, and it's frustrating to me because
So it was.
I want to help them, you know, but it's like I can't. So
It's
I
not,
just
it's,
wanna, like,
yeah, you just have to let them be because that's the ego coming in and saying, you can fix them, you can fix them. But they ain't going to be fixed if they don't want it. They ain't going to heal if they don't want it. They're not open to it.
And what would God say? God would look at them and say, I love them just the way they are. I'm not trying to be fixed.
If you can do that, you know, if you can send them.
It ain't easy, but
You don't have to know their backstory, just know that they have a backstory. And to send that, if you come forth with that, kind of frees you. If you don't, then you look at them and see where they're stuck and upset with their stuckness, and that it constricts you. You're holding that. So,
the world
constrict yourself.
the world is a reflection of us. So
You know, we always want something we can't have anyways, and sometimes we just like the chase. You know, somebody looks really attractive, but you can't have them. You know, sometimes, you know, or they're giving you a challenge, and, you know, they're not going to make your life easy, and so you just, you know, they stretch it. But, you know, we all have it. Anybody have any comments more before we close up here? Because I think we're all getting a little hungry. I can see that look. I know I am.
I just thought of something about changing other people. Obviously, you can't change anybody. They have to change themselves. But when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And it seems like things have changed. So it's not, and maybe this is the lesson, it's not them that's changing, it's you that is changing. And since the world is a reflection of us, the very fact that you're looking at somebody wanting to change them and they're a reflection of you, that means you want to change you. And that is actually where the answer is, changing you.
But sometimes putting some distance is the kindest thing that you can do.
Say that again, Renee.
Putting distance between somebody who, is not behaving, kindly or hurting you, sometimes that's the kindest thing to do.
With love.
Right, sure.
And sometimes, like, people saw the way I changed, and then that caused them to make some changes in themselves. So that's awesome.
If you handle them differently, you're right, Sandy. Because if you change and you do things differently, then they're going to go, oh my God, they're not responding or reacting the same way they used to. Oh my God, how am I going to figure this out? And that requires them to change in some way. Yeah. Well, this was great. Very enlightening. Anything else?
Let's eat. Let's eat.
Let's eat. Okay. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next month. Yeah, January.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is Kathy